Western Mass News also continuing to gather the latest developments in the death of Master Sergeant Luis de Leon Figueroa. He is a Chicopee native, one of two soldiers killed while completing a combat operation earlier this week in Afghanistan. We sat down with de Leon's foster parents this morning. They met Luis when he was just a young boy, and they tell us that his work in the service was monumental for his life.
When he became a Green Beret, it was life-changing for him.
And that was his family.
Yeah.
He created a family atmosphere in the Army, and the camaraderie amongst his friends.
Lewis's foster parents say that with the news of his death, they couldn't help but wonder about what exactly happened to their Puerto Rican son. And now, with news that a Chicopee native was killed in combat in Afghanistan Wednesday, that community is getting ready to support the family through this difficult time. Western Mass News reporter James Villalobos joins us now in studio to explain how the city's Veterans Department stands ready to respond. James?
Yeah, well, Chris, many in Chicopee are upset to learn to what happened to Luis, ultimately giving his life for our country. And it's a sacrifice that the Veterans Services Department says it can never be repaid. But now it's time to make sure that his family will be taken care of.
In this position, we're slightly more prepared to receive that news, but it's never a good day.
Veterans Affairs Director Stephanie Shaw says with it being less than 48 hours since Master Sergeant Luis de Leon Figueroa's death, there's a lot of unknown. But one thing they do know is that his family is not alone.
It can be overwhelming. There can also be a huge outpouring of support that can be very intimidating and overwhelming and confusing. There's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of individuals that want to pay their respects and show their support to this family and for this sacrifice.
With that overwhelming amount of support, the department works with the families that lost loved ones to determine what's next after they have died. That includes the planning of funeral services and donations for the family he leaves behind.
Information will be released as appropriate and as the family wants it to be. Whether the arrangements for his funeral and interment will be public or private, we don't know yet.
Shaw tells Western Mass News that she's proud of Chicopee for being a city that truly supports those serving and have served our country.
We have over 42, I think, monuments now, schools, flagpoles dedicated to these individuals, and we are working with each of those locations to make sure that those memories last and are alive.
Memories that she says at times will be difficult.
Today, in fact, was Lewis's birthday. And that's going to come every year. And the anniversary of his passing is going to come every year, and Memorial Day. And it's not going to get easier. And they're going to have these regular reminders, and we're going to make sure that we have memories of him here in the city as we do with all of our fallen.
While the Veterans Services works to determine the next steps following de Leon's death, she says as a community, they have the responsibility to make sure they always remember his sacrifice.
He's not with us anymore, but his memory will always be there because you're never gone if you're never forgotten.
Lewis's body is now back in the United States. His family tells me that he will be buried at the Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Agawam. Funeral services have not yet been announced. James Villalobos, Western Mass News.